Hello and welcome to Viewpoints. I'm Andrew Phelps. Joining us today is Colonel Bob Hehemann from the North American Aerospace Defense Command. Today, Colonel Hehemann is going to be talking to us about his thesis, Delivering High Situational Awareness and Improved Decision Support Across the North American Air Security Enterprise Now. Thanks for joining us, Bob.
Great to be here, Andrew. Thanks.
I'm assuming this thesis ties in pretty well to what it is that you do on a daily basis. Can you give us a little bit of background information about what led you down this path for your thesis?
You bet. So I've been in the air defense business since the beginning of my career in the Air Force and flying the F-15 and Desert Shield and Desert Storm. And in 2003, I joined NORAD in the Operations Directorate. Subsequently became part of our what's called the NORAD and U.S. Northcom Command Center, the N2C2. That brings all missions together between U.S. Northcom and NORAD, and my area of expertise was in the air domain. So as such, as a air domain chief, I was surprised in as late as 2008 at the tools that we were providing some of the senior leaders, both in NORAD and throughout the U.S. government and Canadian government, tools that they would need to make decisions to prevent the next 9/11. The tools that they have are indeed far better than they were on 9/11 in 2001, but I felt like they needed to be much improved to provide more than just an air picture, but to provide a lot of what we call decision support information or contextual information to go with that air picture. As I indicated, a lot of things have improved since 9/11. The Federal Aviation Administration has made a number of great strides in sharing information quickly, something they call a domestic events network. It's an unclassified open conference call that they can immediately notify all partners that have a role in air security, and indeed there are a great number of partners, and that's what complicates the decision making and complicates building situational awareness and providing that decision support, is that there are so many key players, each of whom have a small piece of a very complicated puzzle. So that was my initial experience as an air domain chief, was recognizing that while a lot of strides have been made, I felt like we could do far better to provide more information to senior decision makers that are making pretty critical decisions when fighters are launched and we have missile systems and around the national capital region, et cetera, that are lethal to prevent another 9/11 type of attack.
So it sounds to me, Bob, like you were able to find a gap in the way this information and decisional support information was being shared. Was that primarily technical, missing technology, or was it organizational, would you say?
Well, the technology can solve a lot of pieces of that, but you have to go beyond the technology, and there needs to be a coalition of the willing. Folks that have information, they do want to share it. It's a team, and a lot of the partners that, just to mention real quickly, beyond NORAD, and I talked about the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, and the Transportation Security Administration now, of course, Secret Service, Coast Guard, Customs Border Protection, and a whole host of other folks that are involved in air security. The technology can help. We do a great job in what General Cartwright, who was the previous Vice Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, used to call cylinders of excellence, i.e. if you're in a command center and you have a fantastic system, but you have to be within that cylinder to get that information. And where we have not come as far in the technology piece is to bring that information out of the cylinder to a lot of the other partners that don't have that particular system. So what you have is a lot of disparate cylinders of excellence in different command centers, none of which are seeing the identical air picture, and few of which are sharing information electronically. Telephone is a great tool, and we need it, and we have a secure telephone called the Defense Red Switch Network, where all those partners come together. And when I mentioned NORAD, I only mentioned one entity. It is actually a huge disparate organization in Alaska and Canada and the east and west coast of the United States, and a lot of parts and pieces of that in the National Capital Region, et cetera. So the technology needed to be and still needs or can be improved to bring that information out of those cylinders and share it quickly. But also there has to be the concept of operations, the operational aspect where the processes and the procedures can also be improved, we believe, and we're taking steps to do that.
This is something, this project that it seems you're immersed in, not only through the writing of your thesis, but also in your day-to-day operations and why you wake up and go to work every morning. Right. Being that involved and immersed in this program and project, was there anything through the course of writing your thesis and doing that research that surprised you that you weren't expecting to find?
Well, the project, what I wasn't expecting to find is that would be so difficult to find funding to support something that was so universally accepted as a need and a requirement. And no matter what level it was briefed and accepted and recognized as a critical need or something that could absolutely improve the process and the operation, that it would be challenging to get funding. But in today's fiscally constrained environment, there's a lot of great projects out there that are competing for funding. So I would say that's one surprise. The other surprise was that while there exists a great quantity of directives and memos and presidential exords and strategies and implementation plans for sharing information, most of which really talk about sharing intelligence information. And what we're trying to do is share information in near real time, within seconds of having that data, which doesn't exist in machines. Often it's created or learned from a cell phone call from an airplane or from when a fighter intercepts an airplane, and you can visually see what's going on in the cockpit and with the shades and being drawn or whatnot. But that guidance, that directive information out there that's directing DHS and TSA and the Department of Defense to share information, while it was holistic in nature, it appeared that while many organizations were responsible and directed to do so, no one was really implementing something that would work immediately. So when everyone is in charge, no one seems to be in charge, or when everyone's responsible, you need somebody to step up and kind of take the lead. So I felt like, as the commander of NORAD does, that while it's partially our mission, Operation Noble Eagle, we share that mission with a number of our interagency partners. It's certainly appropriate for NORAD to take the lead to develop the capability from a technology standpoint, but also from the concept of operations, the process standpoint.
You mentioned trying to garner support for this now, over 10 years out after 9/11. Certainly, it's been well documented some of the confusion that was happening within the air traffic control towers, trying to find out the locations of these airplanes, if there are other airplanes that were still unaccounted for. Right. You would think that there would be no shortage of support for a project or a program like this. What are some of the biggest barriers, aside from financial support, that you've come across, or any detractors of implementing this type of a program?
Well, there are cultural barriers. There are barriers that apply to governance of implementing such technologies. I'll start with cultural. You know, when you're used to doing something a certain way, and you own the information, and people ask for it over a secure telephone call, then you're comfortable about releasing that information. But when someone is interested in perhaps reaching into your database in an electronic means, or they come to you with a new process, a new technology, a new display where you have to manually enter information, for example, some of the senior leadership aren't as confident that a new process, a new operational requirement is not going to involve additional manpower on their part, take up additional space in their current work center. So there are a lot of barriers to really just change. I mean, human nature is such that when you're comfortable doing something, and as I indicated, that the process is not totally broken right now. It's not broken. It works quite well. We have great procedures, but we believe that with the addition of a net-centric web-enabled capability to get that information out of those cylinders and share it quickly, we can improve the process. And we are facing those barriers, and we think we're going to be able to get through them or over them, because there are organizations that we're working with closely that are going to help us overcome those barriers, that have courageous leaders that are willing to implement new procedures, new processes, and embrace new technology. We have to prove to them that we're going to secure their data and that we're really going to bring them more information than they give us. The concept is to have many organizations input just a little bit of data into a database, and then be able to share that data with all of them in its totality, in its aggregate, so that they get much improved high situational awareness and much improved decision support data in real time in their command centers. So our mantra is that we're sharing the same data and the same picture at the same time with all of our partners. And it goes beyond just in that command center. We're going to do it fixed and mobile, and that's the beauty of getting it out of that cylinder and putting it in a classification that's for official use only, or law enforcement sensitive or below. So that's a certain percentage of the information, probably 80 to 90% of the data. But the senior leaders are on the move these days, and there are mobile devices that they can take with them, and we believe we can get the data from our partners, share it quickly, and improve the whole operation.
The idea of sharing information, especially in real time, and sharing accurate information, or as accurate of information as available, is a problem that seems to be vexing a lot of the Homeland Security enterprise. Were there other models that you've been able to look at as part of your research that you're able to base what you're proposing off of?
Absolutely. The thesis looked at 3 current programs that are in use out there today. The first was the Capital Wireless Information Net. It's called CAPWIN. It's a University of Maryland project that started in about 1998 with an individual that was going to be threatening to jump off the George Washington Bridge. A number of jurisdictions, law enforcement jurisdictions, responded to that and recognized that they had a very difficult time sharing information. They've come a long way since then in Maryland, Virginia, the District of Columbia, under the guidance of really great folks out there, and young engineers and leaders within the University of Maryland, to build CAPWIN into this very robust, now more than 125 organizations that are sharing information with thousands of law enforcement officers. So they're pretty much doing the same thing we're interested in doing, which is taking law enforcement sensitive information and sharing it in real time. They have displays that give them information about roadways and snowstorms and all the things that they deal with every day. So that was one of the projects. The other one was a joint capabilities technology demonstration by the Department of Defense, something called the National Senior Leadership Decision Support Service, or NS-LEADS. That was a capability primarily on the classified SIPRNet, where the Vice Chairman, General Cartwright, was interested in bringing combatant commanders globally data out of those cylinders, but to a common framework, a laptop, if you will. He called it the world on a laptop. They did a lot of groundbreaking things, both with technology and the operational side. And then I looked at one project that we've been working on within NORAD for quite some time, a simple project called TOI Tracker that a good friend of mine and I have been working on for quite some time, and compiled all those lessons learned on the technology side of the house and the operational side of the house in IT program management, so information technology program management. How do you manage a project and succeed in doing so? combining those three projects and what we learned from documents and interviews with some of those folks, but also looking at an aggregate of research data, best practice research that exists. Certainly there are many thousands of case studies that have been done on IT projects out there, why they failed, why they were successful. And I compiled all of that data to give us the best opportunity to succeed in the project that we're currently undertaking, which is called the Air Event Information Sharing Service. And it's going to be a web-enabled, net-centric technology to bring the information out of those stovepipes, expose it to the internet, secure it with technologies that exist to encrypt the data so that it can't be intercepted or whatnot, very similar to online banking type of security, and share it very quickly in real time.
Well, it sounds like you've proposed a pretty smart solution to what's been a problem plaguing Air Force defense and airspace defense over the last 10 years. And we appreciate you doing the research and more importantly, sharing your solutions and your findings here with us today. Thank you, Colonel.
Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it.